Hey everyone, I wanted to go over the new and exciting news that we got for Pokémon Unite, now available on mobile devices and of course been available on the Nintendo Switch. And that's the fact that we got the official patch notes available for version 1.2. This is going to be essentially the first day that the game comes out into mobile devices, so we have a brand new set of patch notes to be able to go over. There's plenty of Pokemon buffs and nerfs, and all this information has come to us directly from the official Pokemon Unite Japanese website, but thanks to a huge shout out to Zera for actually being able to translate this directly and making it available right now. Do keep in mind that eventually the Pokemon Unite Twitter account will most likely make this available in English, but for now it's just available in Japanese. Obviously, I'm going to be leaving a link in the description below for you to be able to check out all the information available right now. So first and foremost, I'm going to be going over the Pokemon changes because that's really the most important thing, and then we're going to talk about the additions that they're going to be making into version 1.2, which is the launch of the mobile version and the changes to the Switch version as well. So first and foremost, Pokemon that are being buffed are pretty much Absol. It's having the Night Slash cooldown ability decreased into 5 seconds. Night Slash is also having a decreased range to a second attack. Sucker Punch's cooldown is also being decreased into 7 seconds, and Sucker Punch's increased duration of hindrance is also going to be boosted. So when it comes to Absol, Night Slash and Sucker Punch are both going to be buffed, so these are definitely two good moves that you want to keep your eyes on if you're an Absol player. Now I'm shocked as I actually say this, but Zera Aura is actually being buffed yet again. First and foremost, Slash is having its amount of attacks lowered when it comes to the Slash ability. But then the slash damage per hit is going to be increased. Then Spark, which is unilaterally known as one of the most powerful abilities in the game, is going to have its period between moves increased. That means it's going to take longer for it to tick. However, Spark's increased amount of consecutive wall charge attacks are going to be increased as you have Spark available. And then Wild Charge is going to have its cooldown decreased to 11 seconds, but then it's going to be having reduced damage as you take in more damage. So think of it this way, Spark is going to have longer ticks, pretty much how it does a sporadic damage, but it's still going to be able to do way more damage than before, and Wild Charge is going to have like pretty much higher damage as you have Spark available, and then Slash is just automatically going to be stronger unilaterally. So I don't understand this buff at all. Zera Aura did not need to get buffs, but I don't know why they're doing this, but it is what it is. Charizard is going to have his Fire Punch make the target get burned whenever it hits multiple opponents. Flamethrower will have increased movements after attack. Fire Blast will have his cooldown reduced to 11 seconds, and Seismic Slam will now have increased damage dealt by basic attacks and restores your HP whenever you damage opponents. And on top of that, Seismic Slam is going to have his cooldown increased. So it's one of those things where like 3 out of the 4 moves are going to get buffs, so Charizard is pretty much going to become even a higher contender, which you've seen a lot of Charizards already being played. There's some really good ones out there, not a lot of good ones, but it's one of those things where like if you know what you're doing with Charizard, he's kind of already decent, mid-tier, but now this is probably going to push him over into the high-tier range. Venusaur is going to be seeing the Giga Drain abilities increase reduction of damage as you receive damage. Then Petal Dance is getting 3 different boosts: increased total damage done, cooldown reduced, and increases the movement speed for a little bit longer. So these are 2 moves that a lot of people don't necessarily seem to take. Petal Dance is not all that popular unless you're actually using Solar Beam or you don't like Solar Beam. So it's one of those things where like Giga Drain definitely needed a boost, but Petal Dance, I'm not necessarily so sure. Another complete surprise out of nowhere is that Cinderace is getting a boost as well, is getting buffed. First and foremost, Pyro Ball is having increased total damage done, and Pyro Ball's cooldown is also going to be reduced. Then Flame Charge is going to have its cooldown reduced, I believe to 6 seconds. Pyro Ball is now going to be 7 seconds, and then Blazing Bicycle Kick is having bug fixes, and Blaze is having bug fixes. So it's one of those things where Pyro Ball and Flame Charge and even Bicycle Kick are all getting boosted. So it's one of those things where like Cinderace is just one of those Pokemon that was really strong in the beginning and got nerfed a little bit, and now it's getting buffed back up. So I don't think they necessarily know what they actually want to do with Cinderace at the end of the day. Talonflame is once again being buffed. The attack is being increased, just base stats whatsoever. The Fly ability is going to have its cooldown reduced to 11 seconds, and Fly is also going to have increased movement in air. Then on top of that, Flame Sweep's unique technique gauges becomes more easily chargeable, so pretty much your Unite move is going to be charging a little bit faster. So Talonflame is just getting boosted all the way around, which is good for that Pokemon. It's always been bottom tier. Garchomp Buffs are here once again. First and foremost is getting defense stat increased, special defense increase, and rough skin is also having this activation delayed. So it's one of those where like it's just getting boost defensively all the way around, so it could survive a little bit longer. Now this is the one that probably a lot of people have been waiting for. Me personally, I'm just waiting for this one to come, and it's the fact that Green Ninja is getting nerfed in a couple of different ways, but not probably the ways you expected. First and foremost, its HP is being decreased. Then its attack is also being decreased as well. Smokescreen is having a fixed bug where Smokescreen used to appear early and pretty much you just showcase your spot before it needed to. The substitute ability is being adjusted so it hits, so essentially Pokemon hit it a little bit easier, like other enemies are going to be able to target it a little bit better. Then interestingly enough, Water Shuriken is getting a fixed bug that prevents the movement speed from being adjusted. Then Water Burst Shuriken's unique technique is also going to become like easily more chargeable, so you're going to be able to do your Unite move a little bit longer. And then Torrent's attack boost is going to be reduced as well. So Green Ninja's main ability, Surf, the one that pretty much dictates how strong it actually is, that's not necessarily getting touched, but pretty much everything else around it is. Smokescreen is getting nerfed, his attack is getting nerfed, HP is being nerfed, auto attacks is being nerfed. So it's one of those things where like we'll just have to see how good you actually are using Surf. If you're looking at my gameplay, pretty much it's just about Surf. If you know how to use your Surf, you're gonna be able to own people. It's just pretty much the bottom line. But they didn't touch Surf, so it's one of those things where like we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Wigglytuff is also getting nerfed, interestingly enough, in different ways. Special attack is being decreased as if it already did high enough attack as it is. Pound's attack is also going to be damaged, so pretty much like lower damage all the way around. Dazzling Gleam is also having its damage lowered. Then Sing is having a big fixed bug where you remain like asleep if it were like it's still attacked, so it's pretty much just getting bug fixes. And then Cute Charm's activation gap is being reduced. Now I do think Cute Charm is one of those like you don't necessarily pay too much attention to, but whenever you get hit by it, it's pretty damn annoying. So it seems like they realized that Wigglytuff's defense boost last time around, a couple of patches ago, pretty much made it so like it's kind of really tough to deal with, so they're just lowering his damage instead of actually lowering his defense, which is ridiculous. Cramorant is having his base attack boosted and increased, his Surf ability's damage lowered, Dive's time between moves has also been reduced, and Gatling Gun Missile is having his damage lowered as well. So Cramorant, which is again a pretty mid-tier to low-tier Pokemon, I don't necessarily think a lot of people get to use it all that much. It's one of those that is getting buffed and nerfed at the same time, so we'll just have to see where it ends up. And this one's the one that really floored me when I read it because it's just so ridiculous. Lucario is getting buffed yet again. First and foremost, they're saying that Power Punch is having his damage to opponents being reduced. So Power Punch is a really powerful move, it's just getting lowered altogether. With all that said, Close Combat is getting 3 definite boosts. Its damage increased, increased amount of hits, and Fixed Bug where the damage didn't necessarily increase. So Combat and Combat Plus is just getting boosted all the way around, and Power Punch is getting lowered a little bit. Well, I don't necessarily think Lucario needed to be touched or even like buffed in any way, shape, or form. If anything, Power Punch being lowered is probably the only right thing that they did, so I don't necessarily think what the hell they're doing here with this one. Alolan Ninetales alters how damage is dealt hitting as an obstacle, and Snow Globe is getting a bug fixes, essentially when it increased the frozen damage Pokemon speed. So it's one of those things where like Alolan Ninetales seems to be just working just fine, so they're not messing with it too much. Eldegoss is having Cotton Guard with a bug, essentially whenever you didn't necessarily heal enough HP, is going to be able to get that fixed. And then Leaf Tornado is actually going to be having its effects pretty much improved all the way around. So that's good, I guess, for Eldegoss, but it's not that big of a deal. Gardevoir is having this basic attack boosted essentially with a bug fix. So it's one of those things where like Gardevoir itself is amazing. She's extremely powerful, but at the same time, everything else up until Gardevoir is atrocious. Her damage, her moves are just not very good up until you get to Gardevoir. So it's one of those things where like they should probably fix that line before you get to Gardevoir, but they don't seem to be all that interested in actually doing that. When it comes to Snorlax, they're just fixing Yawn, which has a bug fix. Whenever you get hit, you're still asleep, so it's one of those things where like they're just gonna fix that. Gengar's having a bug fix when it comes to Lick. Whenever you pull in opponents, essentially the timing doesn't necessarily work all that well, so they're going to be fixing that as well. Mr. Mime is having his barriers upgraded whenever you boost the amount of stored pretty much the maximum. So it's one of those things like whenever you get to the second boost of barrier, that's whenever it's actually going to be boosted as well. Then Garchomp is also having like a bug fix to fix some of the defense issues. Crustle is just having basic bug fixes. Slowbro is also having some basic attacks bug fixes whenever it does like lower and higher damage, stuff like that. And the ability for Surface Bug, which is like a wider range, is going to be fixed as well. Manchamp's Barrage Blow is also going to have seen some bug fixes. And interestingly enough, of course, Blastoise doesn't get nerfed in any way, shape, or form. When it comes to Rapid Spin, it's going to have a couple of bug fixes, essentially whenever there's an enemy moving forward to it. And another bug fixes when it comes to Rapid Spin, Hydro Pump and Water Spout, pretty much like timing attacks and stuff like that. So not necessarily anything all that crazy when it comes to like Blastoise, Mancham, Slowbro, Crustle, Mr. Mime, Gengar, Snorlax, Gardevoir, Elder Cross, Alola Ninetales. Lucario is getting fixed or boosted. I don't necessarily understand that. Cramorant is pretty much lowered and higher, is boosted and debuffed. I don't necessarily understand that. Wigglytuff is getting pretty much nerfed a little bit. Greninja is getting nerfed, but in a really weird way. Garchomp is getting boosted. Talonflame is boosted. Cinderace is boosted. Venusaur is boosted. Charizard is definitely getting boosted. Zera Aura is, interestingly enough and stupidly enough, getting boosted once again. And of course, Absol, which was a trash Pokemon, is getting boosted as well. So it's one of those, like, when it comes to buffs and nerfs, man, I don't understand some of these decisions, especially Zera Aura and Lucario, maybe even Cinderace. But, you know, it is what it is. Pikachu, by the way, did you hear me mention Pikachu? No, you didn't. And that's because Pikachu doesn't even show up in the patch notes. So good luck to you Pikachu players, man, because you're definitely going to need it. But I actually just noticed this is a pretty long video to begin with. So I'm just actually going to end it here and go over any new details in a separate video afterwards. I don't like to make long videos. It's just something that I do not like. But thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.